Fighting games. These guys have been around longer than the medieval times.
Go back, I want to be monkey!
The genre has seen some pretty good series that are still running to this day. Others are, well...
Oi! Oi!
Just the thought of breaking down a combo and getting the muscle memory down for it always tickled my fancy. Games now offer online play with casual and competitive play, where the thought of winning can get your adrenaline levels so high, you could possibly support an entire esports team through your bloodstream alone. Though if you lose, you might feel more like...
About it! He's just mashing! Fuck! GG's, man. 3-1. Whatever.
I don't know how to segue into this for the game, so, Blaze Blue! This series is loved by many. Some for reasons that I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube.
What the heck is this? It's got two squishy parts on it.
The Makoto Nanaya Special Edition Wrist Rest Mouse Pad. It uses an actual molding of my underboob, so I can guarantee authenticity. What?
Blaze Blue has had a mountain of games available, and it would take too long to even mention a fraction of them. All you need to know is one developer's name, Arxis. These guys know how to make a fighting game. For the most part, at least. One thing will always be guaranteed though. Arxis knows how to make you jiggle that joystick. That brings us to today's game, Blaze Blue Entropy Effect, which really doesn't fall in the fighting game category at all, but it's close enough. It's like comparing Call of Duty to Just Dance 2012. Not really the same game, but both games have you sweating like a 5,000-pound ape anyways.
Dude, why is it that when I flash somebody, it's like I just slapped them in the face with a fucking napkin from a little kid's birthday party? But when I get fucking flashed...
Gotta get the fuck out of here. That is literally the worst case scenario. Game is so shit!
Entropy Effect is your run-of-the-mill roguelike game where you basically do a run, most likely lose your first run, and get capped, rinse and repeat. Game does try to make itself a little more unique, but not by much. Rooms, in heavy quotation, aren't really rooms per se. It's more of a linear progression system of getting from point A to point B, where you do get a couple of choices in the rooms you would like to pick, and it'll give you the illusion of moving from different rooms. There really isn't any up or down movement other than jumping and stomping to the floor. Most of the time it's just you holding left on your stick until you fall through the floor, or somehow spin into a different timeline. How the fuck did I get here? The background for each choice room is just the goddamn void with a fucking rave party somehow inside of it, with how bright these lights are. You get to choose from your normal enemy room, to slightly harder room, to please give us your money, to what the fuck, I already gave you my money! There is one more room I left out, but I'll get to it later. For now, you may be wondering how the game feels in general. And honestly, the game feels great. The controls feel tight, the attacks feel powerful, jumps are floaty enough with a double jump included, and the dodge feels, well, it feels alright. Every character does kind of alter this a bit, meaning some attacks are ranged, some are melee, or a grapple here and there. The jumps could be a bit more floaty for other characters, but don't quote me on that. I could be 100% wrong, but I swear that some characters feel like they jump higher than others. Dodge can change from a roll to phasing through something, or riding a scooter for some odd reason, because apparently fighting literal lab creations can't stop you from hitting a 720 on a Razor scooter. At least it does 5 damage to them. Now, specials are where the characters feel, well, different. I mean, of course they will. Thanks for stating the obvious, dumbass. These can range from a literal TF2 minigun, to a small itty-bitty tornado, to a little small laser that really doesn't do much other than letting you STORM THE INFIDELS! All of these feel great, and honestly, they look alright. They just don't look as good as they did before, since it might be a bit rough to include either a cutscene or crazy-ass animation for all of the moves in the game. Though, game does lock all of the moves other than one, of course, which is the base special you get. These are locked through potential orbs, which are dropped either from bosses, buying them from shops, or getting lucky in that room. But there is a catch. Not all potential cards unlock a route. The cards could be anything from basic as enhancing an old special move, which is basically a permanent EX, to possibly work up to a route. Some may require different cards that have a low spawn chance, in which case you need extreme amounts of luck to even get. The stars need to align, and God needs to bless you with pulling all Exodia pieces and the 3 Egyptian god cards to even get the moves you need half of the time. Luckily, you only need 2 to 3 to get a full route. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, You need 4, depending on the character at least. This allows the character to expand from the categories they are already part of, that being zoners, range attackers, which is basically the same thing, but fuck you, I'm going to count it twice, because I don't know, you smell funny, and grapplers, which I mean, as of right now there is what, only 1? I guess it's better than none. There's also a character fueled by pure racism, and we'll get back to them later. The only thing that remains the same through all the characters is the basics, which are of course your attack button, which differs from character to character, and as stated before, your specials, which again, depends on your character, and a heal button, which does exactly what you think it does, and that is, stops you in place right where you are, and when you activate it, you don't get enough iframes to not take damage again, because we want it to be funny and make you suffer. There is still more though. This game has 0 drops, and by that I mean there are no key drops or any special item to aid you in battle like bombs. The only thing that drops for enemies is coins, which you can use at the shop to buy a locked set of items, or well, at least it feels locked, since only the 2 items change into whatever they feel like being. A threat level reducer, which is a mechanic I really didn't get into at all. It's basically the more you play, the more debuffs you get without clearing them in resting points. Or it's just straight up makes the enemy stronger, or even lets them revive, which again is such a great mechanic. I wonder why other games don't do this more. Now, I did say it really wasn't important because you usually would take the first rest point you get, since they are kind of far apart from each other. It just feels like a forgetful mechanic that you will not remember about within minutes. It's as fast as that time I picked up my brother and then quickly dropped him right after. Though it does suck that you need to waste one of your rooms just to get a threat level reducer. Sometimes it climbs so fast that you need to visit multiple restrooms in a run, wasting more rooms you could have gone to for resources or even shops. If you don't want to wait to find another room, you could also buy the permanent coins of the game called A-Coins, which just allows you to buy permanent upgrades in the lobby shop to make future runs easier for yourself, or buying tickets into a thing called the Mine Challenges. But that will be more for the future. Then you could buy an extra charge for your heal. Then the last thing you could buy is something called Tactics. This is how the game tries to make everyone feel unique, not just character-wise, but the game as a whole. Does it do it well though? No! Tactics really add nothing at all. It's more of a, hey look at this, pretty cool right? Well, you get a poison buff now, but will you notice it? Probably not, but take it because I don't fucking want it. Tactics might as well be a flea market called Fuck Off and Piss Off Town, because none of these things really provide anything different in any run. They all fall under the categories of fire, poison, ice, and since we're feeling a little bit spicy, light and darkness. They are most likely not called that, but I can't be asked to figure out the actual name for these. They all just do a tad bit of extra damage, while darkness lets you spawn stuff like slimes, or light where it spawns light shards that shoots at other enemies. Yeah, there are rarities to the tactics, the final tier being yellow, which I have yet to get, but even still, I just don't really feel much of a difference. Yeah, some are a little funky, but runs after a while, they all start to feel the same. You could also earn tactics just from, I guess, leveling up? In reality, it's not a level up at all. You don't get extra stats, or buff to anything. The bar is just there to give you a tactic every time you level up, air quotations. But the normal rooms give you piss XP, so you always want to do the harder rooms, like all the time, just to speed up the process. But that also speeds up the threat level, meaning you're gonna have to waste a room just to reduce it if you don't want to deal with some fuck shit in the future. The A-Coins do allow you to boost the chances of getting higher tactics, but usually only by like what, 12%? That goes for only the higher rarity tactics, and once you buy that upgrade, you can't boost it anymore. It's permanently locked to whatever percentage the game feels like it's right. It's something, but not a lot, so my point still stands. Runs will start to feel the same since there are no massive differences between tactics. It's like telling me, hey, compare this piece of shit to this piece of shit. There is no difference, but it's still shit, is it not? Though, tactics do play a bit of a bigger role when it comes to evo types. Evo types are basically your characters. Remember, this is a spin-off from a fighting game. Anyways, whenever you finish a run through winning or, you know, getting capped, you get an evo type. This basically allows you to get a boost on your character from a new run, but not in the way you think. You basically get passes from that character's kit, like, oh, you get an extra jump, or you can now dodge X amount of times. Now then, you get their specials being tornadoes or glaives that just shoot out of you. I think it's fucking stupid. Then, the tactics start to kick in the last slot of that evo type. which is usually just a collection of categories of tactics you pick, being ice, poison, so on and so forth. Or I could just be fucking stupid and it's either random chance or it's based on the first tactic you picked from the entire run. Now, you can select up to 2 different evil types per run. Well, yes, it can make runs feel different and more chaotic. You'll usually just pick the best evil types that cover your weakness or are just straight up broken. I can see the idea that the developers had, but they might as well just give me a deagle to speed up the process and make me a fucking phase member from the amount of trick shots I'm going to hit. Evil types are also used for things called mind challenges. As you may have noticed, each time you get an evil type, they have a power level attached to them, which determines their rarity, which means nothing at all. The mind challenges are a way to unlock more characters by getting tokens to select who you would like to pick next. And you get these tokens by doing these mini boss rush type events, which are divided up into rounds. So, the first round you do a mind challenge, it is classified as round 1, and you only have to fight 1 boss, and then round 2, you have to fight 2 bosses back to back, and so on and so forth. Do keep in mind though, that in each fight you do have to pick a new evil type, and in here they inherit everything from the last run you picked, down to the tactics from that run. Now, the bosses do start off a bit weak, so it may be in your best interest to start off by picking your lower end evil types to make the future fights easier for yourself. You could also be my dumbass and pick your strongest evil types right off the bat and completely regret everything within seconds, only to then do it again and have 0 problems because you actually use your brain for once. Now, I did say you could do the challenge again, and you do so from the last boss you're at, since the only way to reset is by completely exhausting the evil types you currently have on hand. Or you could be a little cheeky and just start another run, get the things you want, lose the run, get another evil type, and boom, you just cheated the system. Again, another great idea that doesn't seem to be fully fleshed out. The fact that you can just start another run and get another evil type without being locked to the challenge is laughable. It's like putting a guard dog in front of your house, but it only attacks when someone doesn't have their shoes on. Like, the idea is there, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Now, there is one character that I have been ignoring, and her name is Kokorone. I am fully convinced that this character is fueled by pure racism or war crimes. The amount of damage she can do is insane. It shouldn't even be allowed. The game is Blaze Blue, but now it's for war criminals, where normals just spawn rockets because why not, and she's the only one with a scooter like we saw before. Now, I will say this. It's probably her worst trait. The dodge gets treated more like a dash, so it has little to no iframes unless you use it at the very last second possible. And even still, canceling the dash can be tedious. I only say this because in my experience, the dash has a certain range it has to hit before it can stop. No matter how much I beat the shit out of my controller, she can't fuck! Anyways, she can also set traps as if she were speaking for the trees. And these things can stun and extend your combos for even more damage. Because why not? As if her damage output wasn't high enough yet. The tactics like damage over time aren't really noticeable with her since she just says no, and her combo routes, or well, potential routes, are just making the enemies live through the hell of a saw trap bouncy castle. And how could I forget the fucking Hammer of Dawn? This move alone can be spammed an insane amount of times with the right setup and tactics build, since the move costs SP to perform, basically just another stamina bar to block you from actually breaking the game in half. Entropy effect is pretty fun, but it does have a bunch of flaws that possibly with future updates could fix this game and make it into something better. As of right now, it's a hit or miss, and right before I forget, that gotcha room, it's basically what you think it is. Spin to get a reward. Some are great, like a potential orb, or well, you know. Though, the game is like what, 25 bucks? It wouldn't hurt to try it out. There is fun to be had here. But don't let me make a decision for you. I will somehow start a war under your name.